Good morning from wherever you are. Okay. All right, so today I'm going to, is my audio right? Yeah, sounds all right. Right. So today I'm going to share with you one of my favorite tools for trading, and that is actually the currency strength meter. And one of my strategies is actually based on CSM also. It's a pretty nifty tool. Now, I rarely share an indicator which repaints or even recalculates or even backpaints. Yeah. If you play with indicators, these are the three terms that you're familiar with. I rarely share the nature of indicator which in any way paints. Yeah, but CSM is actually one of them that it constantly recalculates depending on the time frame that you're trading. But I still find it really useful. Yeah, so the time now is 8 o'clock. Let me actually take a screenshot of whatever is showing now. So they're new, just let me capture that. And we will actually revise that in a minute. So 100 hours, save. Yeah. So the indicators that I'm going to share today, CSM, again, I'm going to say that it's not something I designed, it's not something which of my creation, but rather I download it from a website. And if for those of you who are interested in knowing more, you can actually go to this website. Forex Factory. Yeah. So just go. You can search for CS dash currency strength meter. Just Google it, CS dash Forex Factory, and you should be led to this thread. Yeah. So the latest version for this particular CSM is actually 1.31. Now again, for those of you who are not that interested to delve into what the inner workings of this CSM, or don't really want to hear what others are saying, I mean, it's only 34 pages long for the form thread, not particularly long. Then I've already prepared download for you in my usual Google Drive link. Yeah, so I have trouble to actually paste the link for the viewers. Yeah, so you can actually download it via my Google Drive. So let me switch back to my iPad. Yeah. So actually, how I use this particular indicator is the simplest usage of all. Be it for anybody who wants to position trade, swing trade, day trade, or scalp trade. To me, it works for all. Now, what do I use it for? I don't use it for scalping. Apparently, it works to a certain extent. Why I don't use it is simply it does not fit my personality. Yeah, I still prefer swing trading. That means primarily I do trade on H4. Day trades when I'm absolutely free, not bought when I'm absolutely free. Then of course, end of day trading would still be one of my primary methods. I would say it's equal in my swing trading. Yeah. So without further ado, let me just show you. Let me see if I have any chats. Yeah. So without further ado, this is what you're going to, once you download the indicator, same thing, go to your file, data folder, just go to MQL4, and then plug it into your indicators. Yeah. So that's the steps you should do for plugging in this indicator, and you refresh on your navigator. After that, you should get your CS dash. Now, once you're, as you can see on my screen, on my MP4, you can actually see that I plug into CS dash. Okay, from now, I'll just call them CSM. You can actually do that. I will show you how later. Yeah. So now this particular CSM is actually quite irritating to use because the alerts is just wow. I disable the alerts. Yeah. Otherwise, it just every other minute the alerts does comes up. Yeah. All right. So I'm not sure if you can actually see the windows on my indicator. I think you should be able to, right? So the first thing of all, you can see that I've closed the expanded mode. Most of the time, I don't particularly use it. I'll show you what the expanded mode is later. Then you can show the time frame for calculations. All right. So M15 corresponded to 15 minutes time frame. I have one which is for weekly time frames. Right. You can actually summon up a chart, but most of the time I just switch my chart template. Spread warning, I don't really use it. You can if you want. Especially for those of you who are using a low spread broker, don't think you should worry for that. Update interval. Now, if any of you who is using this indicator and you find that once you plug it into your system, your MP4 is actually lagging quite a fair bit, increase the interval. Yeah, so 500 milliseconds, you'll be updating quite often. Yeah, and if that updating is actually slowing down your processor, just update it to 1,000. Otherwise, 2,000. Keep on increasing. Yeah. especially for those of you who do swing trading, that means you only need to look at it once a day. You don't need it to update so often. Okay. In fact, you can set it to what? Update it every hour or so. Yeah, or every after 24 hours. You don't need to update so often. Yeah. Update in milliseconds, 500, I think that's about 5 seconds if I'm not wrong, or lesser than 5. It's more for day traders and it's more for scalpers. Yeah. So now, if you want to have a peace of mind, I will highly emphasize for you to disable, put it under pause for your pop-up alerts. Otherwise, every other seconds, it will just keep on popping up as long as the figure changes, especially for the highest and lowest. All right. Yeah. So why the figure change? You can actually set the threshold, which is here, lower threshold 2. So anytime a currency goes below 2, you'll pop up alert. Upper threshold 6.1. Anytime a currency goes above 6.1, it will pop up an alert. Yeah. So you can see that every time it blinks, it will actually pop up an alert, which is quite often. Yeah. Again, do I really care for such threshold? To a certain extent, I don't, but that's not the main point of why I use this indicator. All the others, look, if you want to have 2 on your screens, just make sure one is actually on your top left. The other is actually on my top right. Yeah, so you can have it on bottom, center, whichever you wish. And the rest is, I think, self-explanatory. You take the currency. All right. So, how do I use this indicator in its most basic form? I'm sure any of you who either you self-taught for Forex trading or you learn from courses, you would have heard this at some point of time. Trade the strongest against the weakest, or possibly trade the second strongest against the second weakest. Yeah, usually these are the ones that I trade. All right, anything in the middle, it doesn't show strength. Especially this, you can see currently yen, cat, pound, dollar is actually in the middle. Doesn't mean that it cannot be traded. It can be traded, but you must use a different approach. Why? Anything in the middle, that means it's possibly in a range. Just trade the breakout. Anything at the extreme, that means it's actually trending. That means you trade the retracement. Do I need to repeat that again? Anything in the middle, treat that as consolidation. You trade the breakout. Anything that's at the extreme, that means price do have a directional movement. So you trade the retracement. That's all to it. There's nothing, I would say, black magic about this indicator. Yeah. I'm quite a proficient lazy trader. I don't really like to second guess what I should trade or I should not trade, and hence this indicator is particularly useful to me. How do I use it? So let's have a look at a weekly time frame, right? So at a weekly, currently is actually measuring Kiwi yen should be going short. Kiwi is weak, yen is strong. Now this one will keep updating itself continuously. All right, so you just need to search for a pair that you can actually trade against the strongest and weakest. And since it's measuring at a weekly time frame, you can actually trade 2 time frames down. Usually that's what I do. All right, if I measure the daily time frame, I'll trade 2 time frames down. That means any reading that's taken on daily, I will trade at H1. Any reading that's taken at weekly, automatically I will trade at H4. Yeah. So previously, when I was taking this reading, Kiwi is still extremely weak, and dollars was actually the strongest. So what do? I actually shorted Kiwi dollar. When do I short it? This is one of the times whereby you can, to me, I would say you can emphasize or rely on price action. Yeah. Because that would literally nail you at the literally at the turning point of it. Yeah. So just now, not just now, I mean earlier in the week, dollar was actually the strongest, Kiwi was the weakest. And if you have a look at Kiwi dollar chart, this is what you have. Very nice. There you have it. Oops. Once you see a reversal price action, again, don't need to be fanciful price action. My top 2 price action, which I usually trade on my own, will be engulfing bar or test bar. Such test bar will be my actually favorite. Very obvious long wick with literally no body. And does it happen at horizontal level? Does not for this time round. I mean, it's actually shy of this level and it's actually above this level. Yeah. So if it actually comes in confluence with horizontal level, I'll be very happy to trade it. Yeah. So in this case, because I didn't trade it with a level, I will actually reduce my risk. Yeah. So I've gotten this trade. I've gotten me 3:1. I'm actually out of this trade already. This was an unusually fast trade, to be honest. Yeah. So, but as I mentioned, this is one of the rare times where I actually share something which is recalculating constantly. So you can see that now Kiwi is still the weakest, but dollar is actually not the strongest. Yeah. So it does constantly recalculate. Is it still useful? I think it's still useful. Yeah. Even if you plug in price action for analysis, you've got to realize that price action has already happened. If you look at a daily bar, let's say you have a bullish engulfing bar, it has already happened. So a CSM is just really a lazy trader's tool to tell you possibly what's the strongest and weakest. That's about it. Yeah, you can replace that with price action alone. But like I always mention, I suspect 85% of the price action trader out there, your price action analysis are very subjective. It can never be the same as each other. I mean, it rarely is the same. Yeah. So if you switch it over to a CSM, your path might be easier. Now, what do I have to prove? Now, this is the interesting part. Why I put an M15 not because I trade M15, but because this is something I want to prove to you all that it somewhat works. So before I go over, let me see if any questions. Subra, can I trade Kiwi yen just by looking at this weekly? You can't. I mean, you don't absolutely go short. I mean, you don't see that Kiwi yen is weak, then you straight away jump in for a short position. I would still emphasize you to wait for a price action. In fact, for this, let me have a look at Kiwi yen's. Let's see Kiwi yen. So Kiwi yen actually just pop up as the strongest and weakest. So what you need to do next is actually wait for price to do this. So you trade from a short over here. That's what I always do, and it has worked beautifully for me. Yeah. When I see the currency is weakening or strengthening, I don't immediately jump in. For my style, usually I wait for a retracement. Let me give you another. Let me further prove my point. Sorry, I just walked away from my mic. Let me further prove my point. Give me a minute. I actually have something saved. Okay. So I hope I'm sharing the correct screens. So I've actually taken this screenshot, 1850 Singapore time. That means at server, server timing should be about 1350. All right, so again, I will share 1850. I took a screenshot. It was actually Euro Pound long. So at server time, Euro Pound, I'm going 2 time frames down. I've taken a screenshot at 15 minutes. I'm going 2 time frames down M1. So 1345. All right. So I'm 5 minutes late into taking that particular screenshot, but doesn't matter. At 1345, this is my server time. I'll wait for a reversal price action. Again, what I need to see is price going up, down, up, down, up, down, right? It's just a usual trend movement. So what do I have? This is what I get. You can actually trade this bar, right? So this would be actually one of the trend track reversal, but if you want to get it earlier, I wouldn't really count this as a test bar. Yeah, so personally for me, I have to be frank that I wouldn't get into this bar, but would I get into the second setup? Yes, definitely I would. So against, why did I remove that line? So against, where would I place my stop loss? So for some of you who are really aggressive, you can actually place it here, just right below the bar. I wouldn't recommend it for the lower time frames because of spread. So I actually recommend it for the last swing. I will still get my TP really nice. Okay, I'm not teaching how to be a scalper, by the way. I just that I have no choice. So I'm illustrating on the latest. I mean, I'm forced to use the lower time frame. I have to put a disclaimer out there. Now, let's look at the next example. So I taken this screenshot at 1915. So usually at 15 minutes apart. nailed this pretty tightly. What was being shown? CAD was strong, but I don't have a particularly weak pair. The weakest was pound. So I have to go. So by right, what's the setup I'm looking at? I'm looking at pound CAD short. So let's have a look at it. Pound CAD short at 1950, am I right? Yeah, 1950. So that works out to be server time 14:15. So this is what I have. Okay, if I look at my crosshair, 14:15. So I'm supposed to go short. But as you can see from the screenshot just now, I don't have a particularly weak pound. It's just that the strongest at 10 was CAD. Price actually, if I enter at 10, I will definitely stop out. But look what I mentioned just now is that I want to see cyclicity. I didn't see any. All right. In fact, I don't have a reversal price action which I normally trade. So I wouldn't be triggered into this trade anyway. Next example. Kiwi dollar short. Sorry, that was actually the wrong screenshot I think. It was the daily time frame. I'll skip that. So at 1945, which was the latest time frame, which I took earlier just now, I have a CAD yen short, right, at 1945. So let's look at CAD yen short at 1945. So server time would be 14:45, CAD yen short. Look what I have here. Price goes down. I didn't have a perfect cyclicity, but it was still a very noticeable downtrend. Would I have taken this trade right at the absolute top? No. This is not an engulfing bar for me. This is neither a test bar for me. But, oops, this would have absolutely triggered for that short. This is still a very nice test bar for me, followed by a bearish engulfing bar. I would have still taken that. It still fulfills my trading requirement. Now, I've been talking about 15 minutes. Let's look at the latest, the one that I took a screenshot right at the start of the show. All right, so I don't know whether this actually works out. Let's have a look. Kiwi Swiss, right? I took it at 2000 hours, which is right at the start of the show. Kiwi Swiss short. Let's have a look at Kiwi Swiss. All right, so I took it at 1500 hours. Let me have. Yep, this was the bar. All right, so we can see that price indeed, right? This is 1500 hours. Price indeed did go short. Unfortunately, within the next 15 minutes, I didn't get a retracement of sorts. So I wouldn't have been able to trigger it. Now that's for my style of trading. Okay, I'm just sharing with you how I would trade price action. Even though price did go down, I'll confidently tell you that I wouldn't be able to enter into any trades here. Yeah. But for a breakout trader, you would possibly have actually entered in. All right. So this is one heck of an indicator. Actually, any CSM, any currency strength meter is one heck of an indicator. Now you got to realize that different CSM has actually different calculations. Not all CSM are being calculated the same. Yeah, some actually calculated using oscillators, be it RSI, Venus percent R, or actually I have a CSM which calculate based on price action. Yeah. Some CSM calculate based on moving average. Yeah, so that means how wide a moving average is between each other. So not all CSM are made equal. They are actually different calculations. Yeah. To me, as a indicator-based trader, then you can call me a technical trader. Not that I really fit the definition nicely. I don't really care about calculation on my part. If any of you do care about the calculations, please visit the forum. Read what others have said. The author also have described this method. Go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. Personally, to me, at this stage of trading, I don't really care about the calculation behind it. All I care about is when I plug in an indicator, does it fit my style of trading? That's what I really care. Yeah. So, any questions that you have for me about CSM, I'll be happy to answer. Have you managed to download the indicator? Subra, I answered your question, Subra. So no question for me. Either I've done very well for a job of explanation. Look, don't overcomplicate CSM, by the way. Yeah. CSM, again, I emphasize, it does not show the future. It only shows what has happened in the past. This has to happen. All right. A really strong strengthening or weakening has to happen before the CSM picks it up. We as traders, what do we act next is the key point. Right? So if you have traded long enough, you would have realized that when this sort of actions happen, it does not go on forever. Simply just wait for the retracement. And the retracement usually is marked by either a horizontal level or a reversal price action. If you can combine both, that'll be great. Then trade the continuation move. That's all to it. Now, if you want to slightly complicate it, which is again the usual way of trading, I'm not going to say right or wrong about it. Just look at a higher time frame. So Euro Pound, just now I've shown you that I'm supposed to go long. So I took the reading at M15. You can always refer to H1. All right, whether it's to make sure whether you're trading counter trend or with trend. That's all you have to do. So if you're trading counter trend, just cut your risk. If you're trading with trend, then just use your normal risk. All right. So you can always refer to the higher time frame for directional suggestions or confirmation in this case. Right. CSM shows you the way. Refer to higher time frame for confirmation. As for the entry method, to each of you who, you have your own choice of poisons. To me, I will just trade the retracement, cyclicity and retracement. That's all for me. Harish, did I say a few weeks ago that I have started to manage other people's account? No, I'm still trading my own account. I would love to trade, manage other people's account, provided that I have a working algo. I'm working towards that end. If I have, I will actually be sharing with you all. Since why not? If I manage your account, that means I get to tax certain profits out of it. Win-win situation, isn't it? Yeah. But to answer you, no. All right. So for guys out there, look, the few images that I presented, it seems like it's good to scalp. Don't try that from the start. Yeah, scalping is, if you have no fixed strategy, scalping is actually the very easy way to burst your account. Yeah. I will emphasize, if you're working from home, you have a bit more time. You can try looking at H1, drilling down to 15 minutes for an entry. Look at H4, drilling down to 30 minutes for an entry. Look at D1 daily, drilling down to H1 for an entry. Yeah, anything below 15 minutes is really choppy unless you have ample evidence to show that this method works. Yeah, again, since a CSM can't be backtested, the only way you can do it is like me. Be religion. Every 15 minutes, take a screenshot. After you have accumulated 100 screenshots, then you compare the entries. Yeah, that's what I would do, since a CSM can't be backtested, or at least this particular version which I showed you can't be backtested. There are CSM which can be backtested, yeah. But I find CS Dash is actually quite useful. All right. So with that, thank you for joining me today. I'll end the show by saying, look, guys, if you have your trend analysis, if you have done your trend analysis, good for you. All right. So you know which pair is trending and which pair is not. Then a CSM will actually be really helpful for you. Because why? Once, again, for trend traders, usually what we'll do is we'll wait for retracement. And the end of a retracement usually is marked by a strengthening of price action. And that's where CSM comes in. Why do I say that? If you do your trend analysis for on the, let's say, daily time frame, all right, so you deem that a certain currency is trending. Then on your usual trading hours, just look at CSM. If you think that currently, let me have a, let's say daily, doesn't seem to be trending, USD SGD, all right? So what happens is, at this point of time, if I did my analysis and I deemed that, hey, look, USD SGD does have a opportunity to weaken, I still think that USD is going to weaken. If you have watched my Sunday show together with Julian, Paul, and Dale, then what I'm waiting for is a reversal of price action at a horizontal level. And how does CSM works? So I can always just wait for CSM on the daily time frame to show me that USD is in the red, and then I'll go for a short position. Yeah, because this one doesn't measure SGD, so all I have to wait for is USD to be in the red, weakening. I'm good for a short at $Sing at 10. Yeah, that's all I have to do. Okay, so that is actually one of the basic method of using it. I mean, simplest method and direct method. All right, so with that, thank you for joining me today. I hope CSM is actually useful for you in your day-to-day trading. Day trading, scalping, swing trading, position trading, it works fine. All right, but if you're gonna try with day trading, swing trading, and day trading and swing trading, yeah, these two will actually work wonderfully. With that, have a nice week ahead. Goodbye, and see you 2 weeks later.